Hey guys, Don Harvey here with Harvin AR. Today I want to talk about hardware, but not that new shiny iPhone 12 or the iPad or the HoloLens 2 or the Oculus Quest. I want to talk hardware in the form of usability. That means if I'm going to go out and deploy 3D models, what device should I use? So I want to share some variables that I think about and we instill within our client base to think about before they go out and utilize mixed reality in the field. So let's get started. While one device, such as the HoloLens, can certainly be a versatile tool, it may not be the best tool for the scenario you're going to be deploying the 3D models tool. So just like in the content creation workflow, it's important to understand the intended end use of that content on the front end. It's just as important to think about what device we're going to be deploying to on the back end. All right, so let's explore a couple variables. All right, so we have audience. And first is, who is your audience? Maybe what department they're in, or maybe what roles and responsibilities they have. Or maybe it's something a little bit more psychological, like they're a little nervous on putting an AR headset or a VR headset on because of the way they look, or maybe because people outside of their experience is poking a little fun at them. Or maybe they get an upset stomach. They get dizzy from the VR headset or the AR headsets, and they prefer a little more of a traditional approach like a phone and tablet. So, who is your audience that you're going to be presenting to? Next up is time. How much time does your audience have to dedicate to your presentation? I mean, it does take a little bit to get the AR headset fired up and the VR headset fired up and the apps on the phones and tablets fired up. And then it takes a little bit of time to get the models set up and aligned right and placed in the right location or switching between models or what have you. And all of that has a negative side effect to the time that it takes. But I will say, with proper planning and maybe even being vocal on the time it takes to set up, can help in that area. And then finally, the last one is how many people are going to be present. One, two, five, 10. I mean, that's a really important factor into our presentations because maybe that one individual, or maybe you have multiple devices and there's multiple people with headsets on, they're just taking a long time to view those holograms. Not that that's a bad thing, it's just that that creates a line. So now you got individuals waiting to experience what they have. So, how many people are going to be present? But there is one more factor that actually kind of touches on each of these three, and that is teaching our clients to actually use the devices, especially if it's their first time. And I know for all those HoloLens 1 users out there, this gesture wasn't the easiest thing to explain. And they've improved upon that with hand tracking, so now we are poking and grabbing models. But it's still a tough thing to teach, especially when we factor in how much time we have to be able to teach that. That could get into the part of actually the meat of our presentation. Or maybe on the phones and tablets, it's easier because we know it, but it still can be hard, smaller screen space to adjust those models around and place them and so forth. So all of these right here are important things to think about when we're looking at who we're presenting. Be vocal to your clients on what you want to do with the presentation, and you guys will be great. All right, so next up is location. Where and what is the location like that we're presenting in? Now, this is a little bit more AR versus VR, kind of, but let's explore this. And the first one is space. What is the space like that we're presenting in? Is it cramped, like in an office or a conference room, or maybe even at a restaurant? Or is it wide open, like a empty plant floor or empty warehouse or even outside? And if it's cramped, maybe we want to lean to a phone and tablet to display. But if it's a large scale model, maybe we want to go VR headset. And if we got to move it around a lot in there, maybe we want to go to an AR headset. Those are important to think about. Next up is, are we placing this content that we've created onto real objects? And do we need to move those objects around? Most likely, yes. But do we want to lean to a phone and tablet to achieve that, which could be challenging, versus an AR headset like a HoloLens, which makes it a little bit easier? So are we placing onto real objects? And then finally is scale. I mean, are we going to show a massive warehouse on a phone or a tablet? and maybe smaller screen real estate. And even with the HoloLens and a wider field of view with the HoloLens 2 could be a little bit not so great. And maybe we want to lean to a VR headset to show full scale. I mean, placing a rather large model onto a plant floor or an empty warehouse and then walking to the other side of that massive model could have some negative side effects. The model could move around a little bit or become unaligned. So, space, are we placing it onto real objects? And scale are things to think about. Let's set aside the selection process of the hardware for a moment. What is really important here is that the 3D model, and regardless of the hardware that we use, is a tool for the presentation. It is not the presentation. The product that we're presenting is the solution. The mixed reality hardware that we select is what is helping our client visually understand the value that it brings. And this leads me into my next topic, providing or even offering a progression of the hardware. What I mean by that is maybe we start with a preliminary presentation using a phone and tablet, and then we elevate to, let's say, a HoloLens for a spatial placement and understanding in the real world. And then we go even further using a VR device for deep immersive learning. Regardless of the pathway you take of progression, just remember that the hardware is for the presentation, not the presentation. All right, so future videos, we're going to talk about some end use cases that we've had and maybe even explore some of the devices that we used and why. But if you can't wait till then and you want to learn more, just remember, we love talking about this technology. So don't hesitate to reach out, send us a note, or contact us, whatever works best. Thanks.